In every age, people have been fascinated by power. Nations rise and fall in the pursuit of it. Leaders are celebrated or vilified for how they wield it, and individuals organize their entire lives to gain more of it. Yet if you look closely, almost everything we usually call power is external. Money, titles, status, networks, armies, reputations. External power can look impressive, but it is fragile. Wealth disappears in a market crash. Governments change overnight. Reputations crumble in a single scandal. Even the strongest body declines with age. What endures is not what you control outside yourself, but what you control within yourself. This is the heart of Stoic philosophy. The only power you can truly own is the power of self-control. When you develop self-control, you become free. Free not because the world stops challenging you, but because its challenges can no longer dictate who you are or how you respond. This essay explores why self-control is the supreme power, how it differs from the illusions of power we chase, and how you can cultivate it daily. Along the way, it draws on ancient Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, on modern examples of resilience, and on practical exercises you can begin immediately. From a young age, we are taught to measure power by what people can create outside themselves. A president signs a law, a CEO can move markets, a celebrity can move millions of fans. But history is full of powerful figures who were imprisoned by their own impulses. Kings who could command armies but couldn't control their tempers. Billionaires who could buy anything but were enslaved by addiction. Leaders who shaped nations but were destroyed by envy or fear. External power without self-control is like a magnificent ship without a rudder, impressive but doomed to sink. Even ordinary life shows the same thing. Parents can have authority over their children, but be ruled by anxiety. A manager can control a team, but feel powerless against his own procrastination. A social media influencer can set trends, but is paralyzed by the need for approval. Without self-control, external power becomes a treadmill. You have to keep accumulating more to feel secure, but security never comes because the only thing you have not mastered is yourself. The Stoics saw this clearly. For them, freedom and power are not about domination, but about independence from domination, especially domination by one's own passions. No one is free, Epictetus said, who is not master of himself. In this sense, a poor but disciplined craftsman can be much freer than a rich but restless politician. True power is not dependent on luck, and therefore cannot be taken away when fortune turns. Self-control is often misunderstood as cold repression, suppressing every feeling, refusing every pleasure, living like a robot. That is not Stoic self-control. The Stoics did not reject emotion. They sought to govern emotion, to channel it in ways that serve reason and virtue. Self-control is the skill of mastery rather than slavery. It operates on at least 3 levels. Mastery of emotions. You notice anger, fear, envy, desire as they arise. You do not pretend they are not there. You acknowledge them without letting them drive your behavior. This is not weakness, but strength. Anyone can be angry. Only a strong person can pause, breathe, and choose a wise response. Mastery of thoughts. Events themselves are not good or bad, Marcus Aurelius said. Our judgments make them so. 2 people can experience the same setback. One sees disaster, the other sees an opportunity to grow. Mastery of thought gives you the ability to frame reality in ways that empower rather than imprison you. Mastery of actions. Once your emotions and thoughts are steady, your actions become deliberate. You align them with your values rather than impulses. You speak with care, form habits that build character, and make decisions that reflect your principles, even under pressure. These 3 levels reinforce each other. Clearer thoughts calm your emotions. Calmer emotions steady your actions. Steadier actions deepen your self-respect and make clear thinking easier. Over time, you develop a quiet strength that others can sense even if they cannot name it. Why self-control is the supreme power? It cannot be taken away. Money can be stolen, reputations destroyed, positions lost, but your capacity to govern yourself remains yours alone. Even in prison, Epictetus taught, a person can maintain inner freedom. Even in a concentration camp, Viktor Frankl said, The last of human freedoms is to choose one's attitude. This is power in its purest form because it is unconditional. It is the foundation of inner freedom. Most people are not free. They are ruled by cravings, fears, and moods. They may look independent, but are pushed and pulled by every insult, every temptation, every swing of fortune. Self-control liberates you from this inner slavery. When circumstances no longer dictate your mood, you have found a freedom external power can never buy. It underlies all lasting success. Every significant achievement, mastering a craft, building a business, raising a family, serving a cause, demands discipline, focus, and delayed gratification. These are all forms of self-control. Without them, talent is wasted and opportunities slip away. With them, even modest gifts can grow into greatness. It shapes character and wisdom. Self-control is not just instrumental, it is transformative. Mastering emotion makes you fairer and more compassionate. Mastering thought makes you wiser and less biased. Mastering action makes you trustworthy. This is why the Stoics saw self-control as one of the cardinal virtues. It is both a means and an end. Knowing the value of self-control is not enough. It must be trained like a muscle. The Stoics offered concrete practices that remain powerful today. Distinguish what you can and cannot control. When faced with a challenge, pause and ask, is this within my power? If yes, act. If no, accept. This simple dichotomy saves enormous wasted energy. You stop trying to micromanage the uncontrollable, other people's opinions, the weather, the past, and focus on the one arena always available, your own choices. Pause before reacting. Between stimulus and response lies a space, Viktor Frankl observed. In that space is our power and our freedom. Practice enlarging that space. When anger or fear surges, take one deep breath. Count to 5. Name the feeling silently. That tiny pause interrupts the autopilot and gives your wiser self a chance to speak. Journal daily. Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations, not to publish, but to remind himself. Keeping a journal lets you observe your patterns, celebrate progress, and plan corrections. It converts vague intentions into concrete learning. Train small disciplines. Start with habits so small you cannot fail. Waking up on time, finishing what you start, eating mindfully, setting limits on social media. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you strengthen the neural pathways of self-mastery. Small victories accumulate into large character. Practice negative visualization. Imagine setbacks before they happen. Losing a job, falling ill, being criticized. Not to depress yourself, but to prepare yourself. When real losses occur, you will be calmer, less shocked, more capable. This exercise loosens your dependence on external conditions and reveals how much of your peace was always under your control. Seek challenges voluntarily. Occasional hardship chosen on purpose. A cold shower, a day of fasting, a difficult hike, a digital detox, builds resilience. You discover that you can endure more than you thought and that comfort is not a necessity, but a preference. Philosophy becomes vivid when you see it lived. Consider 3 examples. Epictetus, born a slave in the Roman Empire, lame from beatings, Epictetus could not control his master or his body, but he could control his mind. He taught that freedom is internal and so became one of the most influential philosophers of antiquity. Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, he emerged without bitterness, able to negotiate a peaceful transition for South Africa. His self-control over anger and desire for revenge gave him moral authority greater than any weapon. Viktor Frankl. In Auschwitz, he observed that even when every external freedom was stripped away, prisoners retained the freedom to choose their attitude. That insight became the core of his book, Man's Search for Meaning, which has helped millions endure suffering with dignity. These stories are not about saints. They are about human beings who practice self-control under extreme conditions. If such mastery is possible there, it is possible in daily life, in traffic jams, office politics, family disputes, financial stress. Every small act of self-control is a rehearsal for larger tests, As you cultivate self-control, you begin to notice subtle but profound changes. Calmness. Arguments no longer hijack you. You listen before speaking. Patience. Waiting becomes less irritating. You use the time to observe or reflect. Resilience. Praise and blame feel lighter. You enjoy praise without addiction. Accept criticism without collapse. Consistency. Your actions line up with your values more reliably. You respect yourself more, and others sense that. Quiet power. People trust you. They come to you for guidance not because you demand authority, but because you embody it. This is what Marcus Aurelius called the impregnable fortress within. It does not make life painless, but it makes pain bearable and joy deeper. It gives you an anchor no storm can uproot. To integrate these ideas, try reflecting each evening. Where today did I act from impulse rather than principle? How could I respond better next time? What small discipline can I practice tomorrow to strengthen my self-control? What event today was outside my control, and how did I handle it? Over weeks, these reflections compound. You stop being surprised by your own reactions because you are shaping them consciously. You become the architect of your inner life. Another powerful habit is to choose a guiding phrase, a touchstone thought, to repeat when you feel pulled off balance. Examples: this too is within my power, or I am the master of my response. Such phrases are like mental handholds on a climbing wall, helping you steady yourself when emotions are slippery. Some fear that self-control makes a person cold or detached. The opposite is true. Because you are no longer ruled by your own reactivity, you can be more present to others. You can listen without defensiveness, help without resentment, love without clinging. Self-control enlarges your capacity for empathy because your ego is no longer in the way. Seneca said, "No man is more gentle than he who is strong. Strength without self-control is brutality. Self-control without compassion is sterility. Together they form mature humanity." Imagine a workplace where leaders respond calmly instead of lashing out, where colleagues own their mistakes instead of blaming, where meetings are guided by principle instead of politics. Imagine a family where parents model patience and children learn emotional regulation early. Imagine a society where public debate is driven more by reason than outrage. All of this begins with individuals practicing self-control. It is contagious. Your calm presence can ripple outward far beyond what you see. Life will never stop confronting you with uncertainty, loss, injustice, and temptation. You cannot control the weather, the markets, the past, or other people's choices. But at every moment, you can control your own judgment, your own actions, your own attitude. This is not a consolation prize, it is the greatest prize. In mastering yourself, you discover freedom, dignity, and an inexhaustible source of strength. You no longer feel like a victim of circumstances. You become the pilot, not the drifting boat. Stop chasing external power to fill an inner void. Build power from within, the power of self-mastery, the power of peace, the power of character. This is the supreme power, the power of a free human being.